What's up everyone, I'm Jessekazam and welcome back to another Escape from Tarkov video. In this video we're going to be doing a deep dive into some of the meds and the med system in Escape from Tarkov. This is kind of an addition to the health and Tarkov Health Explained video that I did where we covered some of the basic stuff. So now we're going to kind of go one layer deeper and talk about some of the new additions that they did with point 12. I stream Escape from Tarkov on Twitch. All my links will be down below. Would absolutely love to have you stop by, say hey, ask any questions if you have any, or just hang out. But with all that stuff out of the way, let's go ahead and dive right in. So like we said, this is kind of, adding on to that previous video that we did. I definitely recommend you go check that out if you're brand new to the game. If you've been playing for a while, that video was just covering the basics. But the TLDR is just that most of the meds in Escape from Tarkov are just a combination of bandages, painkillers, or a healing effect. Up here in this top right, these are the kind of main ones that you're going to find in Tarkov. Painkillers help remove the effect of getting a blacked out leg or not being able to run. And then obviously you have heals. Saluas and IFAKs and Grizzlies, the most common med items, car meds as well, will stop bleeding and heal you as well. The Grizzly also heals fractures. Splints heal fractures. There's, the 5 splint and all that kind of stuff. All that simple stuff. Now that video, most of that video is still relevant. Like I said, if you're new to the game and you watch that video, most of that is still relevant, but they definitely made some changes in patch point 12 that had pretty big impacts on the health system. The first one being, I mentioned that hydration and energy aren't really a big deal unless you're just in a raid for forever. Well, one of the biggest changes that I also did a video about was the out of raid healing. The fact that the health state of your character persists through the raids. So that means that your hydration and energy are much more of a deal, because if you never really got below 50 in previous to patch point 12, well, now when you get out of that raid and you've got 50 hydration, if you go into the next raid, you're going to have 50 hydration, which means by the end of that raid, you're probably going to be out and you're going to suffer the dehydration effect. So food and water, food and drink plays much more of a role now in Escape from Tarkov. So, the properties of these things aren't complicated, but just pick up all the food and water that you can and just check them out. So certain things like the lunch boxes are great for energy because they provide 80, that's a lot. And the pineapple, something like a pineapple juice is great because it provides hydration and energy. I believe milk does as well. Hot rods provide hydration and energy. Those are great. You can check out the use times if you're going to drink them in raid. Normally you're not drinking in raid, eating or drinking. You're definitely eating and drinking in raid more now than you used to. But if you're keeping up with it between raids, I pop out before I pop in the next raid. I just take a look and drink stuff and eat. You're normally pretty good, but there are definitely some things to be aware of if you get into a situation where you're dehydrated or you run out of energy in raid. Most of the food items that just provide energy also take away hydration. So that is something that can really kind of bite you if you are really low on both and you only have a food item and you eat it. That could actually save you from being low on energy, but put you in a dehydrated state. And that's happened to me, and that's unfortunate. I think at the end of the day, I'd rather be out of water, dehydrated, than out of energy, because the being out of energy absolutely destroys the recovery of your stamina, making it nearly impossible to do anything because you can't run to anywhere to find more water or more food. With dehydration, you're taking damage like you are when you're out of energy, but your stamina seems to be not as affected. So stuff like that, the chocolate bar does minus 15 hydration, which is pretty significant for only 35 energy. The Aquamari is definitely the best item when it comes to hydration. So its use is 150. So, you can just right click and use a little bit of it if you want. But by using, 30 of it, I'm not gaining 30 hydration. I'm actually gaining closer to like 65 or 70, because the total hydration that this 150 gives is 350 hydration. So the math on it is super weird, and I don't actually sit down and figure out the math. But if I was at 50 hydration, I would start by only using maybe 20 of this or 25 of this, and then see how far it gets me. You can stretch these a really long time. They also do give a little bit of energy when you drink from them. And then when they get pretty low, you can actually trade them for, I'm pretty sure, a tactical rig or something. It's a barter item from Ragman. So the food and water play much bigger of a role much bigger than they did in the past. Definitely be on top of that between raids to kind of save your life when you're in a raid. But I just try to pick up as much as I can because the nature of the game is that these things are much more expensive on the flea market than they used to be. The next thing that's changed is in the past, if you got a limb blacked out, completely broken, you could not repair that. Well, the absolute single best addition to Escape from Tarkov in Point 12 for me has been the Survive 12 kit and the CMS kit. So both of these things allow you to repair a broken limb. So you can take a black limb and then it restores it to 1 HP and then you have to heal it, which is very important because if you black your leg and you CMS it and it restores it to 1 HP and then you go to sprint, or you like if you jump off of something and you take any damage on your legs, it's going to be blacked out again. So heal it up. But that is phenomenal. This has insane implications for Escape from Tarkov. You can stay in your raids so much longer now. Countless times prior to Point 12, in the first 5 minutes of a raid, I get an arm blacked out or a leg blacked out, and I'm using all my painkillers, and my hands are shaky if I have my arm blacked out, and I don't want to be in that raid anymore. So I book it to extraction and get into a new one. This is such an incredible change. It means you can take more fights, you can get more loot, and in my opinion, you can have a ton more fun. So these are the two things. The differences, there are some few differences that are very obvious, right? The size of one. So if you're trying to keep it in a secure container, the size, if you don't have a kappa, if you have maybe an alpha, the 2 slot may be way better for you. And the use case, obviously you can use the CMS 5 times. You can use the Survive 12 15 times. But there are other differences as well. The main ones being the use time. So the CMS kit only takes 16 seconds to use, and the Survive 12 takes 20 seconds. So 4 seconds doesn't sound like a lot, but when you are in a raid, if you're trying to heal mid-fight, you know what I mean? You've done damage to them, they've done damage to you. Yeah, everybody's kind of flanking around. You're going to try and get a surgical kit off or something like that. Or maybe you wiped a squad and there's another person or something coming. That extra 4 seconds can be pretty helpful. You can cancel using these halfway through if you want to by just kind of hitting left click, but he kind of like puts everything back, and even the cancel animation can take several seconds, so sometimes it's just worth taking it. And then the other thing to know about these is that while you're using them, it makes quite a bit of noise. I mean, it's not incredibly loud, but if somebody's close, they're going to hear that you just started a potentially 20-second animation. I have used this tactic before. You can aggressively push someone when you hear that and catch them in a moment that they do not want to get into some combat. They're running around trying to heal, and you can eliminate them, and that can happen to you. The other basic thing that you can see here is that the Survive 12 kit removes fractures as well. So I wouldn't use this as a 20-second animation just to remove a fracture if that leg hadn't been blacked out or something like that. Some people do. That seems excessive. But if you don't have a splint, or if you ran out of splints, or if the leg is fractured and blacked out, you can use this and it'll take care of both of those things at the same time. Now, another really important distinction between these two that it's not actually listed here in the game is that the surgical kit here is going to heal a limb, a blacked out limb, to a total durability of 40 to 65% of what it was. And that means everybody, when they start into a raid, each person's leg has 65 health. When you get it down to 0, it's blacked out. When you use this CMS kit, you're only going to be able to heal that leg up to like 40 or 35 or 32. Between 40 and 65% of what 65 health is, and that's with each limb, you're going to be able to heal it to that. The Survive 12 kit will heal and allow you to then heal to a total of 80 to 90%. So the implications for that on something like a leg, right, where if you get it blacked out, you CMS it, you heal it up, you're good to go, the total health of that leg is going to be maybe like 32, 35, which is really easy to black out again with like a scavs weapon or a pistol or something like that. There's not a whole lot of health there. It's really easy to black out again. This Survive kit is going to bring it up to maybe 60, and you can take a couple of shots again. So, you know what I mean? Once again, if you're lugging these around in your container and you don't have a lot of room, you know what I mean? Before I got the Kappa container, I ran the CMS kit in my Gamma And then once I got the Kappa, I switched over to exclusively Survive 12. You know, that's that. It's totally up to you, but those are the differences, and those are important to know. Another thing to note about these is that the only things that cannot be fixed are the thorax and the head. And like we talked about in the other video, if you catch a bleed in your head, so you get down to 5 health in your head and you catch a bleed and it bleeds down, you can get your head blacked out and it won't kill you. But that's the only way, if you catch a bleed and it bleeds down. But that being said, the head and the thorax cannot be fixed. The arms and the legs and the stomach can be. And there have been plenty of situations where you get a bunch of stuff blacked out after an engagement and you can quickly heal them all up. Okay, maybe not quickly, but you can heal them all up and get ready. But just know it's just the arms, the legs, and the stomach that can be used on. So that's those things. You know, the other kind of deep dive that I'd love to talk about a little bit is some of the stims and then some of the multi-use painkillers. Starting with the stims, you know, the adrenaline was the first, you know, stim kind of thing to enter into the game. You know, the benefit of them is they're really quick to use, 2-second application time. Now, they've added these a while ago, but the more I play the game, the more that I like to dive into using some of these. The SJ6 and the SJ1 are kind of considered like stamina stims. You know what I mean? You can read all this. You know, I'm not going to go too in detail because you can kind of just read these things. But I would encourage you to take a look at them because you can use these. I see a lot of people use these. They increase, you know, endurance, strength, stress resistance, max stamina, stamina recovery. This blue one is definitely the stamina one. Like if you're trying to do a loot run, you're trying to get somewhere before someone else, you're trying to get to kill before someone else, you can pop this. This also increases the endurance skill by 25. So when you pop these, it's actually the skills over here that increase by 25. So I would have, you know, 47 endurance for that period of time when I use this. So you can kind of stack those. You can use them to your advantage. You can do cool stuff with those. Take a look at the side effects. The Propital, I'm seeing a lot more used as like a painkiller. Like people would just like, if they've got the cash flow, they'll just substitute them out as a painkiller. They're pretty cool painkillers. They remove the pain effect. You know what I mean? So if you have a blacked out leg and you can't run, you can pop that and you can run again, just like a normal painkiller. It's also going to heal you over time. So health regeneration increases by 1 after 3 seconds for 300 seconds. So it's going to give you 300 total health back. It's going to tick up by 1 and it's going to take forever to get there. But that means, I mean, you can just like pop this as you're running away from a fight. You're healing, you're increasing some of your skills like health, metabolism, and vitality. You know what I mean? Those skills are going to help you be less likely to catch bleeds, less likely to catch fractures, make the food and water that you have last longer so that you don't dehydrate as fast. So it's kind of a really cool all-around painkiller that I'm seeing a lot more people use. It does give you the tremor and the tunnel effect and pain after a while, so you definitely have to manage those. Similar with the adrenaline. The adrenaline is kind of like a combat stim that removes pain, starts to heal you a little bit over time, not as much, but it's going to increase your strength, your endurance, and your recoil control. So you're going to be able to jump farther, throw grenades farther. You're going to be able to run for a longer period of time, and you're going to, for, you know, plus 15 to recoil control. The recoil control skill manages the horizontal recoil of your gun. So you can pop one of these right before combat or mid combat and actually gain a combat advantage or a little bit of an edge by using that. So this one is super fun to run, and the green stim, the ETG, is really cool. This heals quite a bit. It's going to heal. The health regeneration is by 6.5 health per second for 30 seconds. So instead of just 1 health for 300 seconds, you're healing faster. I normally will keep one of these like in my gamma or in my kappa container. And these are so great if a grenade goes off near you, because all of your body parts will just light up red. Nothing will be blacked out. And it can take like forever to like sit there with your IFAK and heal each individual body part. You can pop one of these and then just like start pushing somebody or something, because you're going to be healing as you go at a pretty decent rate. And then, you know, some of your health skills, you know, immunity, metabolism, health regeneration, they're going to be going as well. Some of these, like the adrenaline injector, energy and hydration, after 30 seconds are going to start to plummet. Some of those can really kind of catch you off guard later in the raid. It can get you out of a sticky situation, but then you can have some pretty serious side effects. So definitely look into these and experiment with them. They're a lot of fun. The multi-use painkillers also have been changed up a little bit. There was a time where the Golden Star would instantly give you 100 energy and hydration. That would obviously be incredibly overpowered and is no longer the case. But there's still a few things to be noted. So the use time between these is all different. The Golden Star takes the longest to apply. It lasts the longest as a painkiller. So these both last for 500 seconds. This is 600 seconds. It's multi-use, and it's also going to give you a little bit of energy and hydration recovery and 4 energy right off the bat. So, you can use these to actually craft Propital as well, but a lot of people keep these in there because every little bit counts. If you get into a situation where, like I said, you are out of energy or dehydrated, sometimes it can be really hard to get to the next situation where you can actually, get to a place where you can find something to drink or something to eat. And there have been a few times where, especially when you're out of energy, even this like 4 energy that you could get can maybe get you a sprint to somewhere where you can find something. But otherwise, these are phenomenal things to have in a secure container. They have so many uses and they last so long that, keeping it just as your painkiller in your pockets is a little crazy. But keeping something like that, like the way I like to run my Kappa container, and I did it with my Gamma just without the paracord, earlier, is some way to fix a broken limb, backup heal, and then my backup painkiller, I want to be able to use a ton. I want it to last a really long time, and the backup splint that I can use a bunch of times. I found with point 12 more than ever, my secure container, whether it was the Gamma, whether it was the Kappa, that meds kind of became the most important thing. I was filling it up with meds, and I would often just take out my ammo or something if I needed to and put my ammo in my pockets, because healing in Escape from Tarkov has never played more of a role. With out of raid healing, with food and hydration becoming such an issue, and with some of the new healing items that have come into the game, it's definitely kind of shifted things around a bit, and I like it. I like that there's a lot more thought that goes into healing. It's not just spamming your IFAK and then you're good to go. It's not just getting a black leg and then having to leave the raid. So that's it. That was kind of like our next step, our deeper dive into the health system, into what's changed with point 12. Now that we've had a few months with point 12, some of the suggestions that I can make with stuff to use. You know what I mean? I know that it's easy to say, with a Gamma, just take all this stuff. The final note is, I'll just say once again, the surgery kits have played the biggest impact for me. If I had an alpha container, I would keep one of these in it at all times. They're 30,000 rubles, so of course, if you find a Ledex or something and you want to shove that into a quest item, yank that out. But I would go into a raid with one of these every single time. It can make your runs more profitable. It can make them last longer. It can give you a much higher potential of success. So I hope this helped. I hope this kind of elaborated on a few of the health related things, and this gets you more confident as you're getting into your raids. Thank you so much, as always, for taking the time to check out this video. As always, if you like the video, give it a thumbs up. Think about subscribing for more content like this. I always aim to create short, high-quality content that helps shorten the learning curve of Escape from Tarkov and gets you in your raids having fun as soon as possible. Drop a comment down below if you have any questions about this video, or if I missed anything, or if there's any guides you'd like to see me make here in the future. But thanks again for stopping by, and we'll definitely see y'all on the next one.